Okay, I think it's a recording. Let me just make sure. Was one thing I hate with a perfect hatred is to be speaking and it's not even recording, especially when it reaches in the hours. You understand what I'm saying? Hi, everybody. This is Angelo Quinones, and you reached I Am Ministries. I Am Ministries is designed to give you dependable and accurate answers that come straight from God's holy and inspired word, the Bible. And I'm not only talking about the English, dear people, but I'm talking about or any other, translation or language. But I'm talking about getting answers straight from the Hebrew of both testaments and the Greek of both testaments. That's hard to spit out both. Okay, I can't even speak English. I'm going to teach you Greek. Okay, that's just the deal. All right, now let me go on to verses 46 and so on. But I want to talk about the discrete slave, okay, right here, and I want to add a couple of pieces of information about the Tawa, an article that came out in 1919. Okay, and I'll give you the month and the date of that year. And I'm not gonna get a lot into it, but I'll give you the full date and things like that. And then I'm gonna concentrate on the Greek word, okay, doulos. Okay, doulos. That's just the deal. Now we're gonna look at that and see if it's in the plural or in the singular. And I'm gonna teach you how to notice these things. You understand? All right. Now it says over here, who then is the faithful and sensible slaves. Does it say that in the plural? No, it doesn't. And I'm going to tell you why it is important. Slave in the singular, whom his master put in a charge of his household to give them their food, okay, at the proper time. Okay, that's just the deal. Now, I'm going to give the Greek right away. Okay, let me go to the Byzantine text form, and that is going to have a lot with the most ancient authorities, base text says. Okay, now let me make sure this is brighter and brighter. Okay, this is the deal. Let me make sure of that now, because sometimes it's kind of dim, and it's has a dark background to begin with. So let's go all the way to verse 45. Okay, verse 45. That's just the deal. Okay, all right. Verse 45. This is 45 right here. It says over here, tis, okay, ara. Now that sounds like a Hebrew word, ara. Ara means to empty in Hebrew. But over here it says, I believe that means then. Okay, who then? Okay, so ara is, and that's esten. Okay, the faithful. Okay, the faithful, it says over here. Okay, pistos. Slave, it says over here, adulas. Okay, and, okay, wise, it says over here, franimas. Franimas, for wise. Okay, franimas, spelled out phi, which looks like a sort of a crash landed flying saucer, if you ask me. Phi, that's a ph in Greek, and the equivalent to that is the pei, which can be a ph sounding letter in Hebrew. Okay, so that's phi ro. It looks like a p, but it's not a p. I'm concentrating right here. So the Greek word phronemas, okay, is here, phronemas, spelled out phi, ro, omicron, nowadays called omicron, nu, nowadays called ni, iota, mu, nowadays called me, omicron, final sigma, and the acute marker is on the first syllable. Now, let me check out the word for doulos, because that's going to be our principal word in this our study. Delta, it looks like a musical note. Okay, it looks like a musical note, doesn't it? But I want to make it look like to you guys more than that, but a sort of strange, lopsided D. Okay, because that's what it really kind of looks like a little bit. And then you have Omicron and Upsilon, which is an OU in biblical Greek anyway. And then you have the lambda, it looks like an upside down Y. Well, that's an L in Greek. The equal to that. Okay. This is equal to, I should say, the other way around. The lamed in Hebrew. Okay. Then omicron and final sigma. So basically, except for one letter, we're kind of used to the other letters because they look a little bit like our English um, letters. You understand what I'm saying? So doulos. First of all, this is in the singular. What's the singular? Well, I believe this is a first declension word. Okay, a word ending in omicron and an o. Okay, like in the word hot. Now you take out that case ending sigma, okay? Because Greeks, what they did and what they still do, is make the word inflect, make it change, okay, to fit what they want it, how they want it to perform. So if you want it being the subject of the sentence, you put a s or a sigma. Okay, if you want it in the possessive, descriptive, or whatever the case may be, in case you put it in genitive, and you're going to see an upsilon. Okay, you're going to write it down anyway, And if you want it in a dative case, well, you're going to write an omega, take out the omicron, write an omega, and put a little tiny I underneath it for the dative singular. Okay, and if you want it to be like, for example, the object of the verb, where you just put an N or a nu that looks like a V. And those are all your basic, that's your basic paradigm, doulas, dulu, dulo, and dulan. And that's just the deal. Now, dulan actually, I think you see that in the Greek Septuagint, in Zechariah chapter 3, verse 8. Delta Omicron is right over here. Okay. Can I move it a little bit or no? It's going to be stuck. Let me see. This is very important to show to the witnesses that it cannot be that you all anointed class are the chosen slaves, because it's in the singular. And I'm going to teach you how to look at it. And this is one of the inflected forms right here in front of us. Delta omicron upsilon with the circumflex, lambda omicron with the acute marker. Okay, so it's on the second syllable, the accent. Okay, so dulan. Okay, now dulan, like that. Dulan, omicron nu, and you see the what do you call it, the nu there. It looks like a V, but it's an N. Okay, that's the case ending. That's an accusative case ending. Okay, and that goes. That's the accusative case morpheme. Okay, for a second declension word. Okay, like doulos, angelos, theos, logos, all that stuff. Okay. All right, so that's one of the forms. So it's actually, and in the plural, you got douloi, doulon, doulois, and doulous, right? That would be the forms. Now, none of the plural, let me get back to this over here. None of the plural forms, okay, appear here in this text of doulos. Okay, you understand what I'm saying? Let's look at it again. Let's magnify it. Okay, all right. That's just the deal. So you have, this is in a singular. This is a singular nominative case ending. Okay, if you want this in a nominative but in the plural, it would have said something like this. Who is then the ellipsis douloi, actually, in the plural? It would have been, instead of a sigma or an S sounding letter in Greek, it would have been an I as the case ending. Okay? So it would have been an iota. In iota, it would have made this word plural, just like theoi makes theos, okay, or thea, which is the root or the stem of which contains the meaning of God, either small g God or capital G God. You understand what I'm saying? Thea appears like that. Okay, let me show you the theos paradigm so I can show you. Number one, a nominative, and that's not capitalized except for the first letter, is data epsilon omicron, and then I have a plus sign, and then the case ending final sigma. So I do have it over here. And then number two, genitive singular is theou. Okay, so you just add an upsilon, and in your writing, it's much more complicated than that, but still, that's what you just have to do. Number three, the dative singular is theo. You add the iota underneath the omega, though. Okay, at number three. Number four, the accusative singular, okay, theon, the famous theon, right? Okay, thea, meaning the root, plus the case ending nu, which looks like a V, but it's not a V, it's an N in Greek. And that's the accusative form. Okay, it means God, or it can mean of God, though, also. That's beyond the basics. Number five, the vocative will be the, okay, the plus the epsilon, right? And that's just the deal. Number six, nominative plural. I should have put NP, but anyway, theoi, and that's what I'm talking about doulos. That if it was in the plural, it would be douloi, just like theoi is here in my paradigm. Number seven. Okay, you have G for genitive, the genitive plural, theon. Again, that doesn't appear in the Bible. Of the gods. Number eight, the dative plural, theois. And number nine, the accusative plural will be theos. Okay, gods are of the gods. Okay, made by Angelo and Riza Quinones in 2023. We're in 2023 right now, and Riza happens to be my wife. Okay? For 5 years, it's going to be 5 years this year, God willing. Okay. All right. Now I'll let you take a picture of that, and that's just the deal. I'll give you about 5 seconds to do it. Okay. Let's go back to our text at hand. This is basically a very easy study. It says over here, okay, tis ara estin. Okay, ha pistas doulas kai fra nimas. Okay, ahan. Okay, atatestesin. Okay, ha kurias auto. Okay, epites therapeas auto household therapeas, right? Tu didanai. Okay, it says or to give. That's an infinitive actually. That's an infinitive right there. Isn't a present actually. Because of the reduplicating delta and the I in the middle. When you see that, sort of like a lexical form, the beginning of it anyway, as always in the present tense, this me verb, okay, in particular. It says autois to them, okay, attain traphein. And to feed, okay, and kairo is a season, or translated time. You understand what I'm saying? So this is the deal, that this is not in the plural. Doulos is not in the plural here whatsoever. Now, if you want to see something in the plural, bring him to Revelation chapter 1, verse 1. Okay, so let's look at it now. Well, anyway, no, I can use that same text, though. It should be there. But let me go to Revelation. Okay, Revelation chapter. Okay, and I have Alpha here. Chapter 1. It says over here, apocalypsis, Yeshua Christu. Okay, the revelation of Jesus Christ, okay, which, and that's hein, that's a relative pronoun. Okay, edoken, okay, and gave, as an aorist tense, you see the epsilon as the augment, do as the stem that contains the meaning of gave, and kappa epsilon in a me verb will showcase the aorist. Okay, that's aorist morpheme there. Okay, auto. Okay, to which God gave to him, auto hatheos. Okay, dexai, to show, and that's a degnumi in the lexical form, and that's dexai. That's an infinitive to show. The sigma alpha. The sigma is encased in the kasi there, and it's part of the morpheme, the sigma alpha iota morpheme for the infinitive. Okay, which I believe that would be active, aorist active infinitive morpheme. Okay, sigma alpha iota. You know, so there's plenty of them to choose from. Toys doulois. Look at it. Look at it right here. Okay. Now, this is toys doulois though, so this is a different construction, but this is one of the plural forms. Okay, so this is one of the forms in the paradigm for doulos. And this would be, let me see here. Okay, okay, so here. Delta Omicron Upsilon Lambda Omicron Iota Final Sigma is one of the forms. Okay, doulois. Now, when you trace doulois, you're not going to see doulois. Okay, you're going to see doulos because you're always going to have the nominative for the nouns. And according to the verbs, you're always going to have the present form. Okay, present form of any verb heading up the lexicon. Now, they might have other constructions, like the George Berry will have the future tense along with it, and you might have other lexicons that will have, who's that?
It's me.
Oh, okay, hon. And then you might have other forms that, you need something, hon? Oh, you might have other forms along with it as they discuss it or as they showcase it, but you're always going to have the main form, the nominative, or the verb. Anna's still sleeping? Oh, okay. Okay, take care. You're always going to have the present tense form in the Bible for the verbs. At least that, and then you're going to always have the nominative. Okay, for the nouns. Okay, so that's just the deal. So if you're tracing any of the 24 articles in Greek, okay, and you're looking at something that's not the nominative singular, okay, for the masculine. If you're looking at the other 23, well, you're not gonna find the other 23 when you go back to the lexicon. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, and that's was one of my complaints to Jehovah's Witness when I was talking to him, Tony from Florida. He was saying, well, your Bible says she cries, or her voice. Well, when I look back at the lexicon, he told me I don't see she cries. I just see the word cry or call or voice or whatever he was talking about. And I'll just use one of the words there because I don't remember which one it was. I just used kola. I told him when I started learning Hebrew, okay, because of that argument, that pushed me to learn Hebrew. Not just knowing a few words in Hebrew here and there. That's not knowing Hebrew. Knowing how to read it and recognize the letters and read it and the vocabulary and everything that goes along with it. When I started to learn the reason why I started to learn Hebrew was because of that argument. Because I brought him back to my NIV or NASV or the King James or whatever I was using, and I said, well, I mean, I can't go beyond what this Bible says here. It just says she. And then he kept on saying, yeah, but when I'm tracing the word, okay, and then I'm gonna give it to you right over here. When I'm tracing the word, he tells me, and the Strong's, what do you call it? The Strong's, number system. I only see, call or voice or cries. I don't see she. And I couldn't prove to him from Hebrew because I didn't know Hebrew. I didn't have a Hebrew Bible. So that actually pushed me to learn Hebrew. That really, really did, to read it for myself. That's what I'm talking about, It says over here, does not wisdom, okay, wisdom, all right, does not wisdom cry out, okay, it says understanding over there, lift up, and it says her voice, it says over here. Now, let me just enlarge this, okay, so you can know what I'm talking about. Okay, now, let me see. It says over here, her voice. Now, the lexical form, okay, could be traced by looking at the Strong's number of index, okay, 6963. Now, when you go back to 6963, okay, it's not going to have. Now, let me see if I could just, it's not going to have cola. It's going to have, let me see if I could. Okay, it's going to have col. You see the QOL? Okay, now, remember that you read Hebrew from right to left, never from left to right, unless you're breaking up the syllables, or unless a Bible has it like that. Okay, which is very rare. I mean, I might have a Bible that reads it like English, but still, the rule of thumb is you read a Hebrew unless otherwise, okay, specifically stated, okay, from right to left. Now, underneath this 3 and 6963, you have the Q in Hebrew. Okay, that's Kof. Not Kof, that's another letter. That's a K letter, okay? But Kof. And that looks like a P, but it's not a P. It's actually a Q in Hebrew. That's why it's transliterated into Q. Now, the other one, going from right to left, is a vowel, okay? A consonant used as a vowel over here, wow. Sometimes is pronounced like a V, especially in modern in Hebrew. But this is a wow, and it actually appears in the Tetragrammaton, right? Doesn't it? And the deal is that it has a dot over it, and that means that's an O class. Okay, so dots, dashes, and strokes and stuff like that, for the most part, are vowels. So one dot underneath a letter is an I, one above the letter is an O. One dot to the left-hand side of the letter is a U. An upside down triangle set of dots is an E, like in the word get. Two dots side by side together is an E class, but like in the word they. You see? T-looking letter, a little tiny miniature T-looking letter, capital T-looking letter, stroke underneath a consonant. It can be an A, like in the word father, or an O. A minus looking sign thingy underneath a letter will be an A class, like in the word hat in biblical Hebrew, or in modern Hebrew it will be just A, like the other vowel stroke, A, like in father. You understand what I'm saying? So don't make Hebrew so hard. What's hard for us as non-Hebrews, okay, is the pronunciation of these things to the liking of the Jewish listener. But I mean, that's another thing you have to master, altogether. 6963. Okay, so besides that, you have the Lamed. Okay, from right to left, you have the Lamed. It's a long letter. It's the only letter in Hebrew that goes over the roof of where you're writing. Like, so you're writing in a notebook, like you saw, right? My little app has like lines. And so this is the only Hebrew letter that goes over the upper Mendoza line, if you will. Like writing over the line and going to the upper space. You know what I'm saying? All right, so that's an L, but it doesn't say cola. Now, cola means her voice. Over here it says her voice, but okay, the lexical form is kol. That just simply means voice. When you look at it, let's look at it. This is what they're gonna see, okay, when they challenge you. Well, I don't see that it says her voice; it just says voice, and you explain to them something that I'm gonna give you in a minute. Definition: sound, voice. See, it doesn't say her voice. That's what they're gonna accuse you of. That you're picking and choosing and this and that. It doesn't mean. But you have to tell them, okay, do you know how to read Hebrew? And they probably say no. Okay, they're probably gonna say no, and but if you look outside of the lexicon and go to the Bible itself, which I call the textual form, you're gonna see a different construction. So let's look at that right now. Hopefully, I can magnify it, and if I can't, yeah, I think I can. There. Okay, that's great. So let's look at the textual form. Now you got to tell the witnesses again this, okay? Listen, when you trace this number, and they're going to trace this number, okay, the Hebrew side of Strong's, okay, that's why they have H. It's really Strong's, but they have H when it comes to the Hebrew, and then they have a G, at least in this app when it comes to the Greek. Okay, some apps have the S and whatever, ST or SR or whatever it is, but this one happens to have H. And then in the New Testament, you see a G. So if you see that, it's still Strong's, probably. And the way you check it is just to check out the words for God, okay?
If it's 430 in the Hebrew side of things, Elohim, then you know you're in Strong's, and not the GK system. If you have if you trace 2, 3, 16, and it brings you to Theos, well, you know you know you're in a strong system, okay? Because the two systems don't coincide the same numbers, okay? For example, Echad, the famous Echad, which one of the meanings means one, okay? You're gonna see the number 259 tagging that, and Panim, which means faces or persons or whatever the case may be, that's 6440. So if you know certain words, just look up a word in Strong's and see, like the ones I gave you, and because at least I'm giving them to you, you don't really have to work too hard to come up with your own. Just trace those numbers and words, and if they coincide, you're talking about Strong's. Anyway, they're gonna trace 6963. Okay, and we already went through the word. Okay, we went to it and went through it. Okay, 6963, and they're just gonna see what you see down here. Like I said before, kol. They're gonna see a kof, a wow. Okay, modern day vav, with the old class, and then the lamed, the L, the very long top long letter. But that's not sufficient. You got to tell them. You're only seeing the lexical form. You're not seeing what the text has. Now remember that Hebrew words and Greek words, okay, in the Bible, okay, can inflect. They have their roots, they have their stems, but the Hebrews and the Greeks, okay, they added stuff to the words to make it, okay, to make the meaning change or to make it function differently in a text. Just like I said before, like theon. That's not the lexical form. Theon is not the lexical form. That's the accusative form, the singular accusative masculine form. Okay? So you have different constructions for the word God, and you have different constructions for the word doulos, and you have different constructions all across the board for different words. You understand what I'm saying? Participles are not the lexical form. Okay, the present tense form of a verb, okay, is the lexical, okay, form. You understand what I mean? Didomi is the in Greek means give, to give, but edoken, okay, means gave, is in the aorist tense. Revelation chapter 1 verse 1. You understand what I'm saying? So that's so they could do the same thing over there. Also, they could say, "Oh, well, I see didomi. I don't see that. That he gave the revelation to Jesus." Yeah, but you got to look at the aorist tense construction in the me verb, which is kappa epsilon morphine, and then you got the augment. Okay, there in front of the delta. So it's just the same thing happening here. There's a different form in the text. So what's the form? Well, you have your coal here. Okay, you still have your coal, if you will. You have your basic root here of coal is here. So you got the kof, you got the wow with the holem o class, and then you got the lamed. You have that. Okay, I'm under the word voice now. Remember, you read Hebrew from right to left, like I said. But then they added, okay, a kametz, a class, okay, underneath the lamet. Okay, so you don't see that in the root in the lexicon. And then they added the most important letter here that makes it the most important thing that makes a change here, okay, to voice, to her voice, is the H. Okay, the H is called hey. H sounding letter in Hebrew is called hey. It's found two times in the Tetragrammaton, two times in Ekech, two times in Chaya, which is the root of the two words. And right here is turning this into a feminine construction. Okay, the hey, just like the word Isha has the hey at the end. Ish means man. Isha means woman. You see how it changed from Ish to Isha, and the meaning changed. Okay, so this is changing. Okay, the gender of the one who's using the voice. Okay, so it's kof, wow with the Holem O class, and the little tiny dot is right underneath the I and the C in voice, and that dot is telling you that that's an O, okay, sounding vowel, okay. And the Lamed, which is a very tall letter, that's the L in Hebrew, Lamed, okay. The in the future, the Greeks will come up with a L of their own, which is lambda. Okay, and in the English scheme of things, we have the L, which is the sound is equal to the both of these letters, meaning the Lamed in Hebrew, and the L sounding letter. Okay, lambda like in logos in Greek. But the He is what you need to show. Okay, and I'm gonna take a picture of this. Hopefully, I could take a picture of this. All right. Just take a picture and send it to your opponent, okay? And let them know that the He is changing the gender, is changing the gender of this Hebrew verb. And if you do that, you'll be okay. You'll be just fine, okay? That's just all there is to it. So again, if they go to the text of Proverbs chapter 8, verse 1, and if they go initially to, he was brought forth, he was created, he's a creature, based on, him being wisdom here, and logos being created, being created wisdom, and then wisdom was brought forth. Or you see apparently from the witnesses. Is apparent to them that you see from verse 26 to verse 30, whatever the case may be, that this creature was brought forth, and that he's logos because I mean he was beside beside God, as a creature he was made, and then he started creating himself and stuff like that. But you have to understand that logos is not feminine gender. Okay, is masculine gender, singular, and nominative, as a matter of fact, that word. Okay, so this is a personification of wisdom. Remember, this is poetry. This whole entire book is based on, uh, is based on, is actually in the pool of the poetic writings. Okay, in the Old Testament. So this is poetry. Nowhere does the Apostle Paul or the Apostle Peter, the main vein apostles, okay, and John also in the New Testament era, okay, use a Proverbs chapter 8, verse 1 to try to teach that Jesus was a creature. If it was so important, they would have used it. And as a matter of fact, the writer John, by inspiration, if he was going to do that, he would have used this to prove that Jesus was a creature or that Logos was a creature, but he doesn't even do that, and he doesn't even say anarche epoias and hate as tan lagan anywhere in the Bible, especially okay in John 1:1, and that would have been perfect to do that because he starts with anarche, but then the concept is different than creation. The eternality of the Logos is expressed, okay, in John 1:1, not creaturehood. Okay, so he uses two Greek verbs, okay, in different tenses, one in the imperfect tense and one in the aorist tense, to point out that to point out, from if you look at verse 1 and 3, and you see the aorist tense in verse 3, okay, and you see agenita there, and then in the passive, by the way, and then you see that you don't see agenita in verse 1. You see ain, which means was. In Hebrew is actually haya. So was is in the imperfect tense. It has continuous aspect. And you're dealing with aspect. You're dealing with a linear action that doesn't have any starting point. It doesn't have any ending point. You understand what I'm saying? So that's Sean Hun. Okay. So that's just the deal. So we have that going on, and you can see my John 1:1 studies to further elaborate, elaborate on the eternal subsistence of logos or logos. You understand what I'm saying? But over here, just tell this is not really a study for this, but it just is, this is in passing that cola is the lexical form. Okay, I'm sorry. The lexical form is kol. The textual form, okay, is cola, and that's why the NIV and NASB in translations that do this translate this cola get it right when they say even this app has it right and says, okay, you understand what I'm saying? Her voice and not his voice. Okay, her voice. She cries. She stands. You see, that's not logos there. This is poetry. You understand what I'm saying? Poetry. And then it says and let me see if I could get this over here. Okay. I hope you took a picture of it. I don't know. I think it's in maybe Proverbs chapter 7, verse maybe verse 14 or something like that. We'll check it out together. The call wisdom your sister and understanding your friend. Okay, so that's I mean, come on, logos is not a sister. Okay, you understand what I'm saying? So anyway, that's just the deal. So let's go to Proverbs. Let's go to the Old Testament, and so let's just cap that off, and then I'll clip this in a separate way as a separate sort of entity and put it on YouTube. Since we're talking about another thing, we're doing like the Apostle Paul used to do sometimes to talk about one thing, go and talk about one other thing or several things, and then he will come back. He does that in the marriage discussion. Then he talks about slavery. Then he talks about being content, because it gives an example about that. It talks about, I think, circumcision as well in that chapter. So let's go to okay. Let's go to chapter 7, and it says that about wisdom, thou. Now I don't know what verse it is. We're gonna have to comb through it, but I'll edit it. So you're probably just gonna, now. Okay, here it goes right here in verse 4. Say to wisdom, okay, you are my sister, and call understanding. You see? Understanding is not a person in the Bible. Understanding, okay? It's telling you here that this is a personification, okay, of wisdom. Okay, just say to wisdom. Well, I mean, wisdom. Wisdom is not a person. But say to wisdom, you are my sister. Okay, in other words, you're the one who, it could have been oldest sister. I remember a long time ago, and this can help as an example, that I went to the hospital, okay, to get my tonsils removed, and my sister was with me getting the same operation when I was like maybe, I don't know, I'm just guessing, like maybe 6 years old or something like that, or 7. I don't know. I have no idea. And then my mother and my brother brought us there. Or my mother brought us there. My brother was just like 8. He was along for the ride. And so they left, and they had to put me a shot because I was crying off my head, because my mother left, and then we had to stay over. In those days, we had to stay over. I don't know about now if you have to stay over at a hospital, but I had to stay over at least a day, okay, in the hospital. And I didn't know how to put the next day or the next whatever, how many days I was there, okay, I didn't know how to put a belt on. I didn't know how to put my belt. My sister taught me how to put my belt on. Okay, after that in school, let's say in the 2nd grade, when I was 7 years old, so that probably happened when I was 6. But anyway, in the 2nd grade, okay, my sister was in the same class, and then the teacher asked me, okay, to write my name, my first name, and my last name. And I look at, she left it. I look at my sister. I said, I don't know how to write my first name and how to write my last name. My last name was very hard, Quinones, but I didn't know how to do it. you know. And then so the thing is that my sister took the pencil and the paper, and she said, you write it like this: Angelo, Angelo Quinones, Quinones. That's what it means, and that's an older sister. Okay, so right over here, coming back to this. Okay, it says over here, say to wisdom, you are my sister. Not say to sister, you are wisdom. Say to wisdom, you are my sister. You are my in other words, you are my older tutor. You are my instructor. You are my companion in teaching me in the way how to fear God. The beginning of wisdom is the fear. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. So this is teaching you how to fear the Lord. Okay? Wisdom. Say to wisdom, not say to say to your sister. Okay, she is wisdom. Say to wisdom, not a person. Say to wisdom. It's not even capitalized. Say to wisdom, you are my sister. And call understanding your intimate friend. Understanding. So you mean to tell me there's a duo hanging around called wisdom and understanding, and they're actually people? Come on, get lost. Really? So now who's understanding in the Bible? So I ask the witnesses this. Okay, let me just grant you just for a second that wisdom is logos, or logos is wisdom, or the other way around. And they're going to use 1 Corinthians chapter, I believe chapter 1 verse 30 to try to prove that. So be careful with that. You understand what I'm saying? He has made unto us wisdom, sanctification, righteousness, sanctification, wisdom, and redemption. Take it. That's an old trick. Okay, I might make a study on that. But really, it boils down to understand this. This is poetic writing. He has made unto us wisdom, but he's not wisdom himself. Okay, he's not wisdom himself. He's not. Well, we hear it says she, and her. Okay, actually in chapter 8. Let me just take out the highlight over here. You understand what I'm saying? So that's just a deal. So who's understanding? Ask the witnesses. Okay, so who's understanding? Tell me who's understanding. If logos is wisdom, okay, who's my intimate friend? Okay, understanding. Because they're not the same things. It's divided over here. As a matter of fact, the idea, okay, the ideas are, explained over here. I shouldn't say divided, because then there were one, but these are two separate, okay, concepts or ideas over here, wisdom and understanding. They're not the same thing in the Bible. You understand what I mean? Wisdom is the application of knowledge. You may understand something, but you might not be able to apply what you understand. You understand? I mean, you might understand how to operate on a human brain to fully understand it, but to actually, open the skull and to operate and get that tumor out, or the blood clot, or whatever the case may be, or relieve some pressure on the brain, you may not have the application of wisdom, okay, to do that. You understand what I'm saying? You might have read all the books and stuff like that, but to actually get in the operating room and tell the doctors what they should do, the suction that they should use at the proper time, and all that stuff, and all the things that you need in the operating table to get the job done, and then to close it properly, understanding, okay. And the books may have not have told you this, that everything's okay to close up the operation. You understand what I'm saying? But who's understanding? Ask the witnesses this: who's understanding? And they're not going to come up with an answer. Who's understanding? What? Logos number 2? Come on, man. This is right over here. Let's see it again, and let's leave this. And for everybody who's just looking this as a separate study, okay, please subscribe to my channel. Please give me a thumbs up, and please leave a comment on the screen. For everybody else, just stay tuned for the rest of the study. But over here it says, say to wisdom, you are Okay, that's a Greek ro. You are my sister. And Gaul, understanding your intimate friend. It says over here. It adds the word intimate here in this translation. Okay, now let's move on to our first part of the study. And I want to thank everybody out there for listening to this treatise on Proverbs chapter 8, verse 1, okay, as a separate entity. Thank you so much. Let's continue now.
Okay, so let's return to what we were discussing before we went off to speak about the topic of her voice in Proverbs chapter 8, verse 1. Let's go back. All right. Let me check my baby first. Okay, my baby's okay. Go. Okay, so let's check it out. Let's discuss doulas here. And I made you guys this paradigm yesterday. The title is Ha Doulas Paradigm. And paradigm is my own spelling for, it's the transliteration of paradigm, basically from the English to the Greek. So you have P alpha rho, alpha delta, alpha iota. That's where the I comes from. Not in the modern sense, because that's in the modern sense. And then you have the move for M here. And doulas, of course, is capital delta, omicron upsilon, nowadays called omicron epsilon. And then lambda, omicron, and then sigma. And I used the capital sigma there. I could have used the ancient C looking letter that was a sigma, but like I did in the Theos paradigm. So we have the doulas paradigm. Now we have 1 through 8. Okay. Now the only thing that I didn't put here was the N for nominative, the G for genitive, the D for dative, and the A for accusative, and so on and so on and so on. But I just made this paradigm yesterday because it's very hard to Google up paradigms, and maybe somebody knows how to do it better than I do, and maybe they know a website that they could do it. They can get it much more faster than just regular Google. But I did my own doulas paradigm, and I hope you guys like it. Okay. So let's start off with the singular. Okay, you got 1 through 4. I'll just spit these out, and then I'll go back and discuss the case endings. Okay. And what I should have done, I should have put a plus sign before the case ending and after this the root. But anyway, so we have over here number 1, doulas. Number 2, dulu. Number 3, dulo. But the thing is that the iota goes underneath the omega, though. So I couldn't do that in this notepad that I have. So it just comes after. But just know that that number 3, the I sounding letter in Greek, iota, goes underneath the W-looking letter, which is the omega, the long O, like in the word home. Is tucked underneath it. It's called the improper diphthong. Okay, so you're not going to see it like that in the Bible or in other paradigms, but I just couldn't put it, I couldn't tuck it underneath the letter. It's supposed to go underneath the letter, and it does that with 2 other letters, the alpha and the eta. Okay, so I couldn't tuck it underneath it, so just be alert of that, okay? The number 3. Number 4, dulan, okay? And number 5, you have the plurals here. Okay, duloi. Number 6, dulon. Number 7, dulois. And number 8, dulus. Okay, so you have here the singular and the plural of doulas, and the lexical form will be doulas. Okay, and these are all nouns, of course, and that's just the deal. So number 1, for the singular part of the paradigm, a paradigm is a much more philosophical term that I'm just gonna describe, but in the sort of the tip of the iceberg sense of it all, it means example, or pattern. Like an example of something. Okay. Now, number one, doulos is the nominative form. Okay, the lexical form. Now, this is found. Okay, the Greek word doulos is found in the Greek New Testament at least 127 times, in 119 verses in the New Testament. Okay, it's tagged by the it has G over here. It's not the GK system. It's the Strong's system, and under the number 1,401. 1,401. You understand what I'm saying? So you have doulos over here is the nominative singular. Now, what the root is doula, okay, and then what they did to put it in a nominative case. Remember that this is a second declension word. What are declensions? Well, you got first declension is words ending, nouns ending in eta or alpha, okay, and then you have the second declension are nouns like angelos, theos, are nouns ending in an o. That's in the omicron. Nowadays called omicron. You understand what I'm saying? That's the second declension. Third declensions are words ending in a consonant like sark. Okay, the lexical form is sarks. Okay, you just add a sigma, and then the K and the S are rewritten as kasi. Okay, so you got first, second, third declension. It's even fourth declension. You got and the genitive form is dulu. Okay, that's number 2. Number 3, you have dulo, and again, it's not duloi, it's dulo. The iota is written underneath it actually, but I couldn't type it that way, so you're not going to see it that way. Actually, to avoid confusion, maybe I should just take away the iota and just leave it as dulo like that, and then just explain that there's an I that is going to appear. Not in all Greek manuscripts is that going to be the case. Okay, like for example, arche, you don't see an iota afterneath the eta. Okay, in unctuals like that. Okay, you're not gonna see it like that. For the most part, anyway. I haven't seen all the Greek manuscripts. So there's over 5,500 of them, and close to the count is probably close to 6,000 by now official manuscripts. Okay, now number 4 is dulon, and that appears strikingly so in Zechariah chapter 3 verse 8. You have dulon there. Okay, or dulan. Actually, I'm using modern pronunciation, but it's actually dulan. I'm using biblical pronunciation. You understand what I'm saying? So dulas, dulu, dulo, dulan. Those are the singulars. Okay, there was the singular construction that Jesus used for a servant. Okay, he didn't use the plural, any of the plurals that we're going to be seeing now. Plural. Number 5, duloi. Okay, that's the nominative plural. Now, we already looked at this nominative singular. So if they wanted to put something in the masculine singular and nominative construction, okay, since it's a second declension word, a word which root ends in an omicron, you just put a final sigma. But if you want to put that in the plural, meaning more than one servant, and he could have done that, he could have done that, but he didn't. He could have used duloi. That's not there. That's what you want to say to the witnesses, that it's not duloi. For if they want to change it from Charles Stace Russell to the tower, it doesn't say duloi there. It's not talking about the anointed class. Okay, you understand what I'm saying? Or the governing body, or whatever the case may be. It's not talking about that. As a matter of fact, if you're a run-of-the-mill Jehovah's Witness, you're not even included as the chosen and discreet slave. Okay, you're not of this pool. You understand what I'm saying? Of that pool, I should say. In that teaching, you're just known as the other sheep. You can't even take communion. As a matter of fact, I'm just saying. And not to pick on one false group or false cult, but that's just the way it is. Okay. Now, could have used douloi. They use an iota. Okay. The Greeks use a iota to actually put this in the nominative plural. So the nominative plural ending, case morpheme, okay, is an iota when you want to put it in the nominative plural, just like theoi, angeloi, anthropoi. You understand what I'm saying? So that's just it. Number 6 is doulon, okay, of the servants, okay, of the servants, or whatever the case may be, okay. So the omega nanu is the case ending for the genitive plural. Okay, the genitive case. I'll get into what the cases mean in a second. Number 7 is doulois, and that's the dative plural. Okay, the dative case has to do with the case of interest, but I'll get into that in a second. Number 8 is the final form. Okay, doulos, and that's an accusative. That's an accusative plural, masculine form. Okay, you understand? So you have the nominative case, which is the case of designation. Okay, designation has to do with designation, and is doulos. Okay, the genitive singular is doulou. Genitive case has to do with definition, description, or attribution. Okay, it's the limiting case as to kind. What kind of a heart? What kind of a kingdom? The dative singular is doulo, and that has to do with interest, okay? And you could have some key words for the dative, you know. You have key words for the dative: to, by, with, you see, in, like that. And then doulan, okay, you can translate this servant, but you can translate this, okay, of the servant also, like of God. Atantean can be translated of God. Okay, of God in some instances. Okay. Now let's go to the plural forms. Okay, douloi is the nominative, and that has to do with designation. The nominative, okay, plural, douloi. Genitive case has to do with description, right? And let me add that the accusative case has to do with limitation as to extent. For example, the extent of the hearing. Praxis Apostoloni, actually Apostles chapter 9, verse 7, and put that in conjunction with Acts chapter 22, verse 9. They heard the voice, but then in 22, verse 9, the King James says that they didn't hear the voice. That's a contradiction. No, they didn't understand the voice. And good modern Bibles have it like that. The NIV has it like that. NASB has it like that, and I think the NET has it like that in other dependable Bibles. You know, so the King James is a dependable Bible, but not in that instance. So douloi, doulon, okay, genitive plural, and then doulois, okay, and the case ending for doulois is iota sigma. You understand? And so that's the deal. And omega nu was the genitive case ending. The omega nu, okay, not to be confused with the a participial morpheme, are very famous in these paradigms when it comes to articles, when it comes to relative pronouns, and stuff like that. Regular, that's a regular all the way theme, and it's the same for all the genders. The on, you know, ton, you know, and all that good stuff. You know what I'm saying? Even for the neuter. Getting back to the paradigm number 8 is doulos, and that's in the accusative masculine plural construction, and the accusative case again has to do with limitation. Okay, as to extent, the genitive has to do with limitation, but as to kind. Okay, the extent of the hearing. There you go. That's the deal. Again, doulos is found 127 times. That's what the X stands for, times. And the G has to do with Strong's in the Greek side of things, and that's 1,000 is tagged by 1,401. Okay, so basically that's the study. I'm going to get into it further, and I don't really want to make this a long study. This paradigm was, you could take pictures of it freely, as a matter of fact. I don't have any copyright my paradigms or graphics. You can make copies of any of my graphics whatsoever. Okay, so by Angelo K has to do with Kiki Rucci Quinones, made in 2023. Actually, if you want the date, it was done yesterday on the 21st of June 2023. So basically, we just discussed the verse that has to do with um, the pistas doulas kai franimas, and that basically doulas is in the singular there and not in the plural. This is Angelo Quinones given glory to God the Father, to the Lord Jesus Christ, and in the Holy Spirit. God is not the God of the dead, of the moved, in Hebrew, but of the living. And that means that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were very much alive at the time that Jesus said those words. And that's a great comfort and hope to us, knowing that there's no annihilation like the witnesses teach, but there's everlasting glory for God's people, God's children. But unfortunately, everlasting punishment, eternal punishment or discipline for the unbelievers, and that's recorded in Matthew chapter 25, verse 46. Please subscribe to my channel. Please give me a thumbs up. And please leave a comment on the screen. Thank you so much for joining, okay, this series on the end of the world, okay, based on Matthew chapter 24, from verses 1 through 51. Thank you, guys. Take care. Bye. And gals, by the way. Thank you.